friends, and welcome back to Ration Nerd. Today, we are going to get into this Estonian Self-Defense Forces individual combat ration. This thing is for 24 hours. This ought to be a really good time. It's ever so slightly expired, but only by about a year-ish or so. That shit doesn't really matter. We're still going to crack into it. We're going to have a good time. We're going to see what you would get if you were issued one of these Estonian 24-hour rations. We're going to heat it up, eat it up, and have a goddamn good time with it. And if you like to have a good time, you know what you could do for this guy? You could hit that like button and hit that subscribe button and talk to me in the chat. It is always a great time to hear from you guys. And if you're looking to get some rations of your own, you know what you could also do? You could join me on Patreon, because you know what I do over there on Patreon? Every month, I give away a ration. And this month, I just so happen to be giving away this Japanese Self-Defense Forces emergency ration. That's right. If you join me on Patreon for $5 a month, you will automatically be entered to win the ration giveaway every month on or around the 9th. I give a ration away because I love my Patreon members and I want to share. I have a bunch of rations. I share. That's the value exchange. You join me on Patreon once a month. I draw a random name out of a hat, and you could possibly be the person that gets this ration in the mail from yours truly at no cost to yourself, except for your $5 contribution to my Patreon wellness. And another way to get some cool rations is to go see my friend right over here who's got a really awesome selection of rations. You email him, he tells you what he has, he sends you a PayPal link, you pay for it, he ships it to you. Next thing you know, bingo, you've got a really cool ration that you're eating yourself. And that is a really good time, I assure you. Anyway, let's get into this ration. Let's see what this Estonian Self-Defense Forces ration has going on for it. This is a 24-hour ration. And needless to say, it better have some coffee or daddy's going to be pissed. So we're going to do it how we normally do it. We're going to go at this ration from the back. It looks like somebody tried to start getting into this thing, but that's all right. That's not how we're going. I don't like to go from the top down. I like to go in the back door absolutely all day. That looks pretty good. Let's stick our nose in there to make sure nothing has gone like super foul or anything. You know, that just smells like a bag of relatively nothing, so that ought to be pretty good. Let's start cranking it out of here and see what we get. So we have some energy drink powder that is a little bit crusty. That's okay though. We're probably still going to mix it up and drink it. That nice silver wrapper makes it really, really easy to read. That's sarcasm in case you weren't aware. But we have an energy drink powder. Not sure if we're going to start our day with that, but I have a feeling that we're going to have it at some point. We definitely need the coffee though. Well, looky there. Then we have a 250 gram can of rye bread. I do like me some canned goods. I don't know why. I really like canned food and rations. This is pretty cool. It's a relatively lightweight can. This is aluminum. There's probably some nice dark rye bread smacking around inside of that can. You can definitely hear it. Can't wait to crack into that. A little bit of bread never hurt nobody. I mean, unless you're gluten intolerant, and then at which point, you know, where is the coffee? I'm dying right now. This is absolutely ridiculous. We have here Mala Smak. No clue how to say that, but we better translate the hell out of it. Then we have this really cool looking bag that just says Estonian Forces on this side. Then it's got Malasmak on this side, which is whatever. It translates several different ways. One is sweet smoke. And then over here, it said something about cranberries and elderberries. This may be like some kind of fruit and nut mix. Nothing in there feels excruciatingly hard. We'll have to just decide what meal of the day. We're going to figure out what's inside of this bag. It looks like a little snack pack. Maybe some dried fruit, maybe some nuts, maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I don't know what we have here, but it looks pretty damn good. We have a 90 gram bag of chocolate coated peanuts. Everybody likes some chocolate nuts. That's good stuff right there. Look at that. That is a big old 400 gram can. And I am really jazzed up about that. That is minced meat sausage with potatoes. That sounds absolutely amazing. That is a big ass main. 400 grams is nothing to shake a stick at. That's a belly filling can right there. Then we have another can. That's kind of neat. That real thin profile. That is 160 grams of stewed pork. The little pull tops are nice, although they make me worry when they get banged in the shipping process. If just a little burp of air gets in there, it's very convenient to have the pull tops, but I'd almost rather just have to open every one up with a can opener. But we have 160 grams of stewed pork. Kind of cool. Then we have a Food Force. What is this guy right here? A cookies and cream bar. Not too shabby. I like cookies and cream. That ought to be pretty decent. At least I hope so. Then we have that Adventure Food brand. Crispy muesli is what that translates to. Not 100% sure what that's about, but that sounds like breakfast. I haven't found any coffee yet. I'm actually going to be kind of blistered if I don't get any coffee, so this whole ration will be a wash if they decided not to give their guys any damn coffee. Then we have some freeze-dried pasta bolognese. That's kind of interesting. Not too bad, I guess. I mean, pasta bolognese is kind of basic, but hey, it doesn't have to be gourmet or fancy. And we have a relatively heavy freeze-dried pack of pasta bolognese. That's not too shabby. 120 grams dry weight. We're going to have to give that its day in court. It certainly doesn't look like it has any particular brand on it. That is pretty awesome. So we have some pasta bolognese to enjoy together. Then there's a Ziploc bag in there. I mean, there's never not a good reason to have a Ziploc bag in a ration. You can always store the remainder of opened items in there. Pretty cool accessory if you ask this guy. Then we have 3 disinfectant wipes. Not too bad. Keep your dirty dick beaters clean. That is good stuff. Then we have a black tea with lemon flavor. I guess that's not bad, but I still haven't found any coffee yet. And we have a pack of Hansa matches. And what color tips are those? Because I know you're going to ask. Well, those are like a medium brown, more like a milk chocolate brown, just for your inspection purposes. And because I know you need to know if these things actually work, because that is a big deal to a lot of people. Look, it makes fire. We got those matches. And we have a pack of Coal Fresh Blue Ice Gum. 3 small packages of salt. I mean, having those broken up into separate servings is pretty cool. We have 1 little baby pack of pepper. Then we have 2 little baby bags of sugar. I'm going to call those maybe 4-gram packs of sugar, but there's 2 of them, so you get roughly 8 grams of sugar in 2 little packages. And last but not least, we get some instant coffee. There's no cream, but at least there's coffee, and we have some sugar to go with it. I'm feeling a whole lot better about this situation now. Absolutely. So there we go. And that is everything out of the bag. So this is everything contained in an Estonian Self-Defense Forces 24-hour ration that expired in 2024. 0 fucks given about that. But you know what we are going to do? We're going to get some breakfast out of a tray, and then we're going to come right back and put that coffee in the face so I can hand back these rented lips. Because if I have to try to repeat myself, one more time, I might gouge my eyes out with one of these crappy spoons on the end of a Fred. I swear to God, it's so bad in the morning when I haven't had my coffee yet, but that's okay. We're about to rectify that problem. I'll be right back. All right, everybody, we got breakfast out here. This is what I've chosen. Obviously, we're having that coffee and we're having the muesli. I also chose this fruit and nut mix, or just fruit mix, whatever it is, in case it needs to go in the muesli. One thing I can say, it's breakfast and my brain isn't fully functional, mainly because the bean of the gods has not been ingested yet. But although this ration has some really cool components, there's a lot of stuff missing. There's no utensils. There's only 2 drink mixes in the ration. There's 3 meals in a day. We could really have 3 total drink mixes. And there's just a few accoutrements that are kind of missing. There is salt and pepper, which is nice. No napkins, no flatware, anything like that. I mean, I guess when you say no napkins, you do have the disinfectant wipes, but it would be nice to have something to either wipe your butt or blow your nose or just wipe the nasty food off of your face, etc. So this is a really neat ration, at least so far. I haven't tasted a single solitary thing yet, but there's certainly a few items missing that I would like to see in any ration, and there was, well, enough room in this bag where you could have absolutely put some utensils, napkins, extra drink mixes, etc. There's also nothing included to heat up any of this food, so I imagine they have mess kits and all that good stuff, but what are they heating it up with unless they issue that completely separately? It's one thing to have a mess kit with your mess cup and your fork, knife, spoon, etc. But as far as the method that you're heating it up with, that's a whole different story. And you know, with all that blabbering out of the way, you know I haven't had it, you know I need it, you know this face is barely functional if I don't have it in the face. We've got to get this coffee made up. I had to say that like 5 or 6 times. This is absolutely getting ridiculous. It's time for the coffee. So let's check this out. How much coffee did we get in here? 4 grams. That's not bad, and this feels like it should be a freeze-dried. So we'll see what kind of coffee we're getting in this ration today. Please be good. I'm already like with the lack of cream, so let's see what we have here. Oh, that is a big ass bag of spray-dried coffee. There's nothing else for it. We're just going to have to roll with it. Yeah, that smells like a really standard spray-dried coffee. It's okay. I've had some spray-dried coffee that was actually really good. I'm praying that this is one of those. Gotta get that coffee brewing, because yeah, I really need it in my face. And I guess that means we get to choose our own utensil, so we are going to go with a little mini British face bucket action. Why? I don't know. It was the first one staring at me, and I really kind of like it. Face buckets are kind of fun. So let's go ahead and give this a sniff and a sip without the sugar added. Actually doesn't smell too bad for a spray-dried coffee. Spray-dried coffee has a tendency to smell a little off, like it just doesn't smell like a standard brewed coffee, or even a standard instant coffee for that matter. But let's give it a big old sip and see what this spray-dried coffee is bringing to the table. And that's definitely a spray-dried coffee. Nothing spectacular about it. I also wouldn't throw it out of bed. It's nice and strong. That's about an 8-ounce portion. Going with 4 grams of spray-dried coffee that still has a nice strong coffee flavor. It's a little bit on the bitter side, but it also doesn't have any of that nuttiness. Slightly acidic, which I do like. The bitterness of that coffee would be perfectly countered by some half and half, or some creamer, or some sweetened condensed milk. I hate to keep harping on the sweetened condensed milk, but I really am stuck on that shit in rations. It's a great source of calories, and you get to cream up your coffee or make your muesli more better. But as it stands, we're going to go ahead and at least put 1 pack of this sugar in there in case we happen to need some sugar for the muesli. Who knows? Get some diabetes in the morning. Honestly, I could put that second pack of sugar in there. The first pack of sugar helped to cut some of the bitterness, does add just a tiny bit of sweetness to it. Again, this is a pretty standard spray-dried coffee. Not the best coffee I've ever had in a ration, but absolutely not the worst. It's acceptable. Now let's move on to get this crispy muesli hydrating. I'm actually going to take a second to read the package to make sure I don't screw the pooch on this. All right, excellent. So this is actually calling for cold water, and they want you to add it up to line 3, which is one of the bottom marks here on the side. Kind of neat that they have that little graduating scale here on the side for adding your liquid. And this says only to let stand for 2 minutes. So I have a feeling this is much more like a breakfast cereal here in the United States and is meant to be eaten cold, not heated, because it even says to add cold water to it. So we're going to go ahead and get this open. It already talks about an oxygen absorber, which we're going to have to get out of there. Ooh, that's a little dusty. All right, let's get our nose in there. First, let's find that oxygen absorber. Then let's stick our nose in there and make sure this milk powder didn't go sour. This thing, it does have an expiration date of December of 2024, so we'll just go with a little bit of caution. And that smells perfectly fine. It literally just smells like powdered milk. If you know what it smells like, then you know. But it doesn't have any cheesy or weird smells to it. There's a good one for you. If you're getting into a powdered milk product and it starts to smell like cheese, it's probably not good anymore. So let's get this nice and open so you guys can see what we're rocking with in the crunchy muesli department. Not a bad looking bag, if I must be honest, and well, that's how we roll here. I really do wish they would print the lines on the inside of the bag. I know that would be a lot to go through, but it would be a whole lot easier to add the correct amount of liquid to this. If there were some lines on the inside, you didn't just kind of have to use your best estimation as to whether or not your liquid level on the inside of the bag, which is opaque and you can't see through it, versus your line on the outside. It's a little messy. We got a nice stir on that. Now we're going to shake it like it owes us some breakfast money. And we only have 2 minutes to wait for that to hydrate, so that's awesome. And let's check out this, whatever it is. It's either just dried fruit or it's a fruit and nut mix. Let's dump it out and find out. And that just looks like a bag of cranberries, which I have nothing against. I really like cranberries, but the text on this pouch is so bad. But fortunately, Google Translate eventually picked it up and did give me a bunch of random bullshit. And I'm also not trying to shit on this ration right out of the gate before I've even taken a bite of the food. But quite frankly, the size of that bag and how much room was left over in it, you really could have put the extra silly components in here, like some flatware, napkins, butt wipe, all that good stuff. Considering this ration has over 3,500 calories in it, it should be a pretty decent ration to feed a relatively active person, for for a day, especially considering your normal calorie allotment is nowhere near 3,500 calories if you're just a normal schmo doing normal schmo stuff. And while we're giving that just a few more seconds to hydrate, let's get into some of these cranberries, because I do like cranberries. So let's check these out. These look like your standard dried cranberries, not too shabby. Let's toss some of these back in the face and see what they're like. And for some cranberries that are out of date, they're absolutely epic. You'd never be able to tell. They're nice and sweet, very tangy, everything you'd think a dried cranberry should be. Lots of sugar added to those things. They're nice and tart and nice and sweet, nice and chewy, not overly dried out. If you liked dried, sweetened cranberries, you'd be all about those. Those are actually pretty damn yummy. And since we've been flapping off at the mouth, this has had a perfect amount of time to hydrate, so we're going to go ahead see what consistency this thing is. So it's like a breakfast cereal, fair enough. Right after I get another sip of this coffee, so my fucking mouth will start working properly. And it really is difficult to do the morning breakfast reviews. Let me tell you what, until I've had coffee, the mouth just doesn't want to work properly. It can be pretty miserable sometimes, let me tell you. So let's get this cereal or crunchy muesli out on the tray, see what this is all about. Yes, let's get some that. Well, the milk looks really good, nice and thick. I tried not to put too much water in this because I didn't want it to be like a watered down mess. This is already going to be kind of messy to eat out of the tray. It would have been a lot easier just to eat it right out of the bag, but then how would you guys see it? Try to get it all out of there. Lord knows I'm a grown boy, need my nutrition. All right, so here's this crunchy muesli, and what's really nice about this is there's only a few of those traditional cereal flakes in there, and I'm really down with that simply because, is that a nut or is that looks like a cereal flake? This is more like a granola, but it was certainly designed to be cold, which is fine with me. I can dig it. And the milk turned out to be nice and thick, not too runny and watery. That's all right. That's pretty decent looking. I'm really glad I switched over to the face bucket. This will come in really handy. So let's get our little dozer blade full of like epic yumminess and bring that up to you so you can see what the first bite is about to look like. Check that out. You know you want to drip that milk on your hand. You know you want to put that in your mouth. That's what he said. Let's get a bite of this crunchy muesli and see what that's all about. And that's actually really tasty. Only mildly sweet, which is certainly cool. No sugar necessary. You have some nuts and raisins in here that are making this actually really pleasant. The granola, which really is granola, so they're calling it a muesli, but it being cold like this over here in the US, we would call this a granola. This is actually really good. A decent quality. It's expired. It tastes perfectly fresh. Not a damn thing wrong with it. This looks like maybe like a big old banana chip in there. Let me throw that in my face and see if that's really what that is. Yep, that's a big old dry banana chip. I didn't recognize it before. I thought it was like just some kind of cereal flake, but that's a banana chip. Dry bananas are okay. I really don't like dry bananas with like a wet cereal because they get that weird slimy consistency once they start to rehydrate. That's just not for me, but that's okay. I can just pick them out and eat them first. And we're about to do two things. We are going to take, I know, this isn't really sacrilege, but it might be kind of messy. We're going to get some of this creamy milk action. We're going to toss it in that, well, kind of lackluster, middle of the road coffee. I don't care if there's like oat hunks in my coffee. I really don't care. We're going to utilize what we have, so I didn't have to bring anything extra to the tray. And I have this extra pack of sugar, so we can go ahead and have some sweet and creamy coffee in the morning. And that's going to make me a really jolly ration nerd. And well, that's going to make me jolly. It might not make you jolly, but it's going to make me ecstatic. Now my coffee has floaties in it. And you know, I bet you, I know who has 2 thumbs and gives 0 fucks. It's this guy right here. Let's get a sip of that coffee now that we've got it sweeter and creamier than it was before. That's a total win. I can certainly say it's a new sensation trying to drink around floaties in my coffee, but I'm certainly happier about it than I just was a moment ago. That coffee had a little junk in the trunk, and I don't really care. Adding that milk to it and the extra pack of sugar was just what it needed to push it over the edge. It went from a mildly acceptable cup of coffee to a perfectly acceptable cup of coffee, just like that, using only what was contained in the ration. That is a total win as far as I'm concerned. As you can see, that coffee didn't stand a chance. This cereal, though, this cereal is actually really good, but one thing I am going to do to make it even better is I'm just going to go ahead and toss all the cranberries in here because there's no reason not to. I'm actually pretty jazzed about this. I'm not normally a breakfast guy, as you all know, but this is actually really good. The addition of these sweet and tangy cranberries is going to make this granola pretty bitchin', so I'm just going to dive right in here. snatch me some granola and some cranberries or crispy muesli, whatever you want to call it. I bet you it's not so crispy now that it's been sitting there soaking for a bit, but let's get that in the face. I bet you that's going to make it even better than it was just a few seconds ago. That is really good. The sweet and tangy cranberries with that, that's actually really yummy. What's really nice is that the milk powder they use for this doesn't have that over-processed, like, chemical flavor that some powdered milk can take on. That makes it really pleasant to eat. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't taste like real milk, so don't get yourself super excited. But what it doesn't taste like is that weird chemical flavor. And I'm all about that. This is actually a really high quality breakfast item. I'm digging this 100%. That's really crazy. It's almost like the powdered milk that they used for this was like a powdered cream rather than powdered milk. It's really thick and really rich. This is actually really good. If I'd have known this was going to be this epic, I think I would have just saved it for dessert, had some of the bread and some of the stewed pork for breakfast, and just saved this to have like a really awesome dessert in the evening. This is really great. Absolutely needs nothing else other than the fruit added, and it pretty much turns into a dessert item. This is really, really good food. And that has such a rich, creamy, like follow-up flavor. This would be perfect any time of the day where you wanted something that was kind of sweet and chewy and creamy. I certainly think they could have done a larger portion size for this. They could have added another 20 or 30% volume to this. Would have been a lot more filling for an extremely active soldier. I know 3,500 calories is a lot, but to a soldier, depending on how active they are, that could be like nothing. And that was some really good breakfast cereal or muesli, sweet, chewy, kind of like having dessert for breakfast. Who knew that once I started to eat something that my brain registers as dessert, I'd be all about it. But that was really good. And that is a hell yeah. That was like dessert for breakfast, spoon drop. All right, my friends. Well, that is what we were having for breakfast. Hope you enjoyed. We'll be back in 2 or 3 hours. We're going to bust into that pasta bolognese for lunch, and then we're going to get into the canned items for dinner. I absolutely can't wait for that. I'll see you guys back here in a few hours. All right, everybody, welcome back to lunch. We've got that pasta bolognese that I have taken the liberty of adding the water to and stirring and shaking a bit, so that way this is ready to go. Pasta bolognese is relatively basic. We've had it a bunch of times. Maybe not this brand, which for the life of me, I can't really tell what brand this is, simply because there's no branding on it. But anyway, we're also going to crack into that can of bread. We're going to get a cookies and cream bar, and we're going to have an energy drink powder, and hopefully have a good lunch. Dinner is certainly going to be the biggest meal of the day, considering we have 560 grams of food to get to. That ought to be pretty epic. So while we're giving that just another second to hydrate completely, let's check out this energy drink powder. Okay, so this is saying add it to anywhere between 250 to 400 mils of water. So I guess that's basically dealer's choice. Depends on how strong you like your drink mix, I suppose. So let's get into this guy. Oh, we got some drink mix falling out over the place. That's all right. I don't have any clue what flavor this is, or if it's actually, well, there's definitely been some caking going on in there. If I had to guess, I would say that's probably iced tea flavor. We're getting ready to find out. It does look like there's some real granulated sugar in there. I don't know, it smells kind of fruity and citrusy. We're just gonna have to add some water to it and find out. We'll try about that much water, see what that does for us. Let's get that all nice and mixed up. And there is a lot of granulated sugar in there that really doesn't want to mix up. Some little white floaty things that are kind of disconcerting. Hopefully that's just some vitamins going on in there. Ruh-roh, George. We'll have to come back and mess with this energy drink in a minute. It just doesn't want to mix up properly, probably because there's real sugar in it, and real sugar really doesn't like to mix well with room temperature or chilly water. Sugar's not loving it. We'll get back to it. Let's crack into this can of bread. I'm very, very interested what the canned bread is going to be like. I'm kind of expecting it to be something like the German canned bread, but I'm hoping for better, if I'm being honest. That looks just like the German bread. And it pretty much smells exactly like the German bread. It's kind of crazy. Very moist. Let's get, I don't know. Let's get 3 slices of it out here. This stuff is super dense. We'll get into that in a second. I have a feeling they probably should have sent something to put on that bread. Again, the German rations, a lot of times they have like butter that is pre-peppered and pre-salted, which is absolutely awesome. There's nothing to put on that bread, so I'm trusting that the pasta bolognese is going to work wonders with it. Let's hope so. That's still nice and warm. Let's get this pasta bolognese out here for everybody to take a look at. And that actually has a really good smell to it. I noticed that when I originally got the oxygen absorber out of here, that the smell was pretty epic. I was pretty jazzed about it. And now that it's hydrated, the smell has actually subsided just a little bit. I'm hoping this isn't just some real basic bitch pasta bolognese. I get kind of salty when you get pasta bolognese in a ration, and it's probably one of the most boring mains you could have in a ration. Pasta bolognese, though, it does fill your belly. Has a bunch of calories in it, so you really can't complain too much. And we do have salt and pepper, so I'll just quit blabbering about it. Let's get this mess out onto the tray. Kind of hard to be able to show you guys the pour. We're just gonna have to get in there and dig the rest of that out of there and make an absolute mess out of ourselves. Look at that. That bolognese did not want to all come out of there at the same time. And that is good enough for government work, as they say. And there's not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to this pasta bolognese. As you can see, there's very little pasta and a whole lot of this really finely ground meat. We do have some tomato hunks in here. That could be a little pepper hunk in there. Lots of seasoning. The sauce is very thick, which is fine. I actually added just a little bit more water than they called for because I wanted the noodles to hydrate properly. They don't look like they really did, if I'm being honest. They feel a little hard and crunchy. That was nice screaming hot water that went in there. And not only did I put the appropriate amount of water in there, I went a little above and beyond because most pasta dishes will just eat all your water up and still leave you with some crunchy noodles. But those noodles are certainly looking a little small to this guy. Let me grab a bite of this and bring it up to you guys so you can see what we were about to stick in ye old face hole. So there's a close-up of that pasta bolognese for you, in case you were wondering. You can see how small those noodles remained, which certainly does not bode well for lunch, but here it goes. That's really odd. You know, as far as pasta bolognese goes, it doesn't have a overly bitter tomatoey taste like a lot of pasta, especially the freeze-dried pasta bolognese has. The noodles are almost completely hydrated. There's like a little bit of crunchy spot hanging out here or there on the noodle. But quite honestly, I'm not sure that they were meant to get much bigger than they already are. They're just small little noodles. This is a pretty heavy package. After you rehydrated this is roughly equivalent to 400 grams of food. Maybe 350 to 400. It's really close though. It's really heavy. It has a nice taste to it. Definitely some good seasonings in here. Maybe we'll add some pepper to it, but as far as the salt goes, it just doesn't need it. I like to put a little bit of black pepper on all savory food. Maybe that's just me. But if I didn't have any salt and pepper, I wouldn't be too butthurt about it. I would be like, hey, this pasta bolognese is pretty decent. So let's throw another bite back and see if that continues on through the lunch main. Oddly enough, that beef tastes really good. There's really not much that tastes freeze-dried about this main, except for the noodles. The noodles are just kind of that weird, like rehydrated, freeze-dried noodle texture, but that really doesn't bother me because the sauce and the meat have such a good flavor. The noodles are just kind of like off to the side, like, yeah, whatever, I got a noodle, that's okay. This is like just eating a big-ass mouthful of some actually pretty damn yummy meat sauce. This is actually great for pasta bolognese, if I'm being 100% honest. I always am. As far as pasta bolognese goes, this is pretty much the winner out of all the pasta bolognese mains I've ever had. This one is rocking. I was kind of excited to get into lunch. I must have been hungry or something. Let's get this cookies and cream bar out on the tray here. I'm dropping the ball as far as that's concerned. We go with that little cookies and cream bar. Now we're going to see if this canned bread survived the test of time, and if it's just as bitter and as unappetizing as the German canned bread can be. I have kind of a weird relationship with German ration canned bread. Some days I really like it, and some days I really don't. This is the exact same consistency, kind of that wet, waxy texture, kind of like it's almost moist, but not. It's really odd. Let's just grab both of these pieces so you can get a cross section on that. It's kind of like a thick, nutty, almost like a date bread. If you've ever had date bread before, that real thick, very heavy consistency, not light and fluffy at all like any other bread. One thing I can say is this stuff will absolutely fill the belly. So if they made it taste better than the German bread, it's a great way to keep a soldier full. I don't know. It certainly survived, but it is a whole lot like the German canned bread, it's almost identical. The one thing I can say about this one, it's just a little bit less bitter than the German canned bread, but it is almost a complete analog. If this was just a little bit more bitter, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference at all. But it certainly has that bitter rye flavor, that weird canned bread consistency. This is a good ration item in the sense that it's very shelf stable. These cans of bread will last a lot longer than their actual expiration date. Case in point, but this is certainly an acquired taste. Almost nutty, bitter, very thick, very chewy. You certainly have to work on this. It's not a great like dipping for any kind of soup because it's just not going to suck up any moisture. But we will scoop up some of this actually pretty excellent pasta bolognese. I want a hunk of this really thick, chewy rye bread. Toss that back in the face and see if that's a winner. That is a really epic combination right there. Let me tell you what, if you get one of these rations, my absolute recommendation, if you get the pasta bolognese menu, is get a big old spoonful of that bolognese and use it to help get this bread down if you're not crazy about it. Oddly enough, the acidity in the tomato sauce, which this isn't a very bitter tomato sauce, all things considered, but when you pair it with this really thick, crazy canned rye bread, it knocks out that weird bitter flavor of the canned bread and really makes it an enjoyable chew. These two were absolutely a match made in ration heaven. That is absolutely the way to do it. You know what, oddly enough, what comes to mind, when you put a big old spoon of this main up on the bread, it's almost like you have a slice of meat in there with a really mild flavor. I know that sounds kind of weird, but texturally, it's almost like you had a slice of chicken in there with the pasta bolognese, and that's what you're actually chewing on. But the bolognese really takes over the flavor of the bread, which if you're not crazy about it, could be an absolute win. You know, it's funny, I really thought lunch was going to be a bummer, and then it turns out that lunch was actually a total winner. Like the combination of this bolognese and the bread is actually excruciatingly yummy. Like I'm actually getting kind of full at this point between that really dense bread and eating about half of this pasta bolognese, but I just don't want to stop eating it because it's really good. And just let me say that it's not the pasta bolognese that needs the bread, it's definitely the bread that needs the pasta bolognese. And the texture that bread brings to the pasta bolognese just makes it that much more interesting to eat. And it knocks out that weird bitter bread flavor this stuff is rocking. That's a really crazy combo. That's just epic. Like literally half of that bite just went down my shirt. That's a total mess. Some is even on the chair. I just can't win, I swear. Wearing food, I guess, is an art form. And if it was, I'd be like Pablo Picasso. I think what I really need to do is I need to grow a big-ass ZZ Top beard, and I apologize to anybody that's watching me from outside of the United States that you do not know who ZZ Top is. That kind of beard right there would be what I would need to have like a beard bib. Like, bib is always included. Everywhere you go, there you are. All you gotta do is go comb that shit out of your beard, and it's not all over your shirt. Of course, with a beard like that, nobody can really see your shirt. But I guess it doesn't matter. You could save all kind of shit in there for later. Like you could stash a chicken wing in there. You could probably fit like a whole dessert bar in there. Just kind of hang on to it for later. You know, shit hits the fan and you're like, oh, I'm a little hungry. And then you just kind of reach up in there. I happen to have a power bar in my beard. No worries. Maybe an extra pack of smokes, a lighter, like some fire tinder. You'd like have like a bug out bag hanging off of your chin. I think that might be the next thing I need to do is just grow an enormous crazy beard. And then I won't have to bitch about shit falling on my shirt anymore. I actually can't remember the last ration that had pasta bolognese that I actually sat here and ate the whole main and was actually kind of happy about it. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of pasta bolognese mains that I've left a whole lot behind on the tray, but this ration was expensive enough and it's good enough that I feel like I'm going to finish it just for the sake of finishing it. I think there's definitely going to be a 4-hour or so break in between lunch and dinner though. But this pasta bolognese is actually really, really good. You can actually taste the meat. The sauce is seasoned really well. This stuff actually just kind of knocks pasta bolognese right out of the park, except for the fact the noodles kind of suck. If they had better noodles, it would probably be the best pasta bolognese ever in a ration. But maybe if it had the correct noodles, maybe something would have went wonky with the sauce. I don't know. But as far as pasta bolognese goes, this is at the top of my list. Oh, I am working on one hell of a full stomach right now. Holy shit. And just for giggles, there's a last bite of that bolognese. This was a really good pasta bolognese main. I'm really impressed with it. Has a really great aftertaste. I'm almost kind of bummed that I'm going to use that bitter ass piece of bread to sop up this sauce, because quite honestly, the aftertaste of this is really pleasant. not super acidic. I imagine if you had acid reflux, this would not be the meal for you. But considering I don't have acid reflux, this is absolutely the meal for me, even though I thought it wasn't going to be. Pasta bolognese for the win. I wonder if that grease is ever coming out of that spoon. I am full to the brim, but we need to forge ahead because we have a drink and an energy bar to get through. Let's give this drink another stir. So let's see if we can clean the palate with whatever flavor energy drink this is supposed to be. It definitely has a strange B vitamin smell. Let's get a sip. And since it's not listed on the package, I can only guess at what the hell flavor that is supposed to be. Quite honestly, that is a very strange flavor. It's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be, considering they gave you this huge range between 200 to 400 milliliters of water. It has a background vitamin B taste, so it's very likely fortified with some vitamins, which certainly isn't a bad thing, but it has this weird taste. It's almost like a combination of fake apple, pear, and just a little bit of tea added. And then there's a little bit of a vitamin C background note in there. It's really odd. I could not put my finger on any particular flavor to call that. We're just going to call it Estonian energy drink flavor because I don't know what else to call it. The apple pear drink, the vitamin B apple pear drink, who knows? It's okay. It's not the best. It would likely be better if we watered it down, but then I don't think it would taste like much. At least at this point, it almost tastes like a apple pear nectar. It's very strange, but absolutely not the best, especially when you can't really tell what the hell flavor you're drinking, but what you gonna do? And that's certainly very interesting. I wish the package was more informative, but on we go to this Food Force cookies and cream bar. I've had some Food Force items that are absolutely epic and some that were super fails. Hopefully this is one of the epic variety or even somewhere in the average variety, just not an absolute fail. Let's give you guys a little cross section of that Food Force cookies and cream and let's get a big old bite of that. Oh, oh. We definitely went to the nasty side with that one. That has some really harsh artificial sweeteners in it. There's nothing wrong with it. It hasn't gone rancid or anything. Oh, there's just it almost tastes like a fake chocolate flavor. It kind of tastes like a Tootsie Roll, which is mildly disturbing in and of itself because it's supposed to be like a granola bar, really. But it has a Tootsie Roll flavor, and then it has an artificial sweetener in it that has a really bitter aftertaste, so it tastes like fake chocolate, and then a really odd, disgusting, bitter aftertaste that comes after you chew this thing. I would absolutely have to be desperately hungry to eat this, and I'm absolutely not after having that pasta bolognese. You put me out in a rucksack and march me up and down hills and dales, I'm probably going to be starving enough that I would eat this, but I still wouldn't be happy about it. That's like a little turd in a bag. That is absolutely disgusting. What the fuck Food Force was thinking when they came up with a recipe for that, nobody knows. Oh, I need to wash that out of my mouth. It was like eating a candy turd. And that follow-up with that vitamin B flavor with the weird aftertaste of that sweetener, not a great pairing in any way, shape, or form. Well, my friends, that was lunch. That pasta bolognese was bitchin'. That bread was acceptable because of the pasta bolognese. That drink's kind of wonky. And that granola bar needs to go in the goddamn trash. It should have never been put inside of a bag and offered out for human consumption, because I don't know any humans that would think that tastes good. If you open up a turd candy, that's what a turd candy would absolutely taste like. That's fucking disgusting. I will see you guys back here in probably about 4 or even longer hours where we will crack into dinner. I'm really looking forward into getting into that sausage and potatoes and that stewed pork. It ought to be a great time. I'll see you guys in a good while. All right, everybody, and welcome back to dinner. As you know, we've got that sausage and potatoes, which I've really been looking forward to. We've got some stewed pork. We have the rest of our bread. We have some chocolate-covered peanuts, some cold, fresh blue ice gum to freshen up our stink hole after we make it all stinky. We'll check out one of these disinfection wipes. But first, let's get into this black tea with lemon flavor. See what this smells like. Let's get it right up to the face and see if this black tea smells decent. It smells like absolutely nothing. I mean, literally nothing when you put it up to the nostrils. Let's abuse it a little bit, see if we can get some scent out of it. Not a damn thing. Hopefully, this tastes like tea or lemon, but let's get some hot water in this and just get it over with. And if you're not drinking a lot of fluids in the day, you really should be. Water is the best, but hey, you know, tea isn't that bad for you either. And of course the tag would fall down in there, so I gotta reach down into some really hot water and just fish it out of there. That's alright, we'll get our steep on with this tea, because I'm sure it's gonna need a serious steeping after it's smelling like absolutely nothing. We'll leave that do its thing for a while, and we're just gonna go about it very quickly here, get everything out. We're just gonna chuck the rest of these bread slices out onto the tray. You know, calling this stuff bread is pretty much a stretch. It's almost like it's unbaked. I'm sure it was baked at some point in the process, but it's almost like you took bread dough that was really nutty, really grainy, and just literally made a roll out of it, waited for it to kind of dry out, and then just sliced it up. It's almost like it's not baked at all. Pretty crazy stuff, really calorie dense, which is awesome. It's certainly not my favorite bread item in a ration for sure, but I do like the can, especially the fact that they give you a lid, which is pretty awesome. Let's get this stewed pork out of here. And these cans have been boiled. Techno boil time. Can't really see anything, but, you know, it's boil time. Just like that, and the only part you couldn't see was me wiggling my little ass while I was singing that little tune to you. Anyway, these things are super hot. I boiled them for about 15 minutes in total. The sausage and potatoes can is really puffy. That obviously heated up really nice. They're almost too hot to touch. We're just going to have to roll with it, burn ourselves a bit, and get this stewed pork out of here, hopefully without catching some second degree burns. I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was gonna happen. I know for a fact I thought I saw some grease go in the tea. It'll be okay. Awesome. So let's get this stewed pork. Ow, damn, that's hot. Let's get this stewed pork out of here. Let's do what we should have done in the first place and put a paper towel under that so I could at least not burn myself too much. Whew. Be careful if you boil cans. They get really hot because boiling water is fucking hot. Oh, look at that. That is a nifty little meat puck. In order to try to keep me from getting too many burns, we're just going to dump that little meat puck right out onto the tray. Ow. Fuck. All right, that is one of the least attractive pieces of canned meat I've ever seen. Wow. They could certainly have done better on the stewed pork. Holy shit. It smells great. Looks like ass. Totally smells great. Let's get another napkin staged for this guy, because I really don't want to do a repeat on the can squirt. Maybe we'll just add some sausage and potato squirt to the tea. Damn it. I gotta figure out a better way of doing this shit. Oh, son of a bitch. That was under some pressure. That's absolutely awesome. Oh, son of a bitch. There's a great Ration Nerd moment for you. I'm sure I'll do a slow-mo of the squirt on that. Yeah, boiling your cans is a great idea, not great idea, all at the same time, because you repressurize them. And I really did boil the shit out of these. Trying to get it. Oh, that's not very attractive. I was really excited about this. Saved it for the last meal of the day, and it's starting to kind of look like dog food. What the hell? Well, before I dump that out on the tray, that is not a very attractive looking can of food, if I'm being honest. And that kind of sucks, because I was really excited for this. And after the pasta... That's fucking great. After the pasta bolognese, I was really excited for this meal. That certainly was a turn off. That's not making it look much better. Let's get it out on the tray before we pass final judgment. All right, maybe. I mean, some things that look like ass taste really good. Well, I mean, ass is one of those things that looks like ass, and that, never mind. Anyway, let's, I guess we'll just soil our spork here and get every bit of that out on the tray. It's been about 4.5 hours since I saw you guys last, so I am a bit hungry, not ravenously so, but I certainly have a little tummy rumbling going on. Let me clean up a little bit. I'll be right back. And since that other disinfecting wipe got soiled, we're gonna crack open a new one, because I mean, look, that disinfectant wipe isn't very important to me. Certainly would be to a soldier, considering you don't get any other napkins with this thing. Let's see how this disinfection wipe does, getting that, well, little juice of everything off of me, because it's squirted all over the place. And that seems pretty standard, not very strong. I mean, it's an alcohol wipe. Really smells like alcohol, which after it dries, won't smell like anything, which is great. It's up my arms. This is great. It's moisturizing. And we'll get these chocolate-covered nuts out onto the tray. All right, so here we go. I was really jazzed about this meal. Maybe not so much now. You never know. This could turn out to be absolutely amazing. But what we have here, obviously, some very light-colored sausage, some really small potato dices, and I'm not sure if that's just the potato starch, but there is a nice thick broth in here. Probably a little column A, a little column B. Maybe they added some starch and the starch from the potatoes, made the sauce in here nice and thick. Really nice fat content. You can see that swimming around over here in the corner. That stewed pork, that looks more like ground pork to me. I was expecting more of just like large pieces of pork. That's so not what we got. But let's go ahead and tuck into this sausage and potatoes, see what that is bringing to the dinner table and what my stomach is about to endure. Damn it, I was really excited about this. Now, not so much. Let's let you guys get a look at that. Check out that creamy sausage and potato action. Let's just roll with it. Stick it right in the face. See if this is going to be a really ugly but awesome dinner or just kind of substandard. Who knows? We're about to find out. And that certainly tastes better than it looks. But it's not all that in a bag of chips. The sausage, it certainly tastes like sausage, but it's probably the mildest sausage flavor I've ever tasted on the planet. Not that it's bad. It's not bad. It's very ugly. It does have a little white and black pepper in it already. A little bit of an onion flavor to it. It's a lot more bland than I expected it to be, especially since sausage is normally such a powerful flavor. But this is really mild. We're definitely going to add some salt and pepper to this just to jazz it up a bit. If I'm being honest, I've been really happy about this ration so far. This is kind of a bummer. I saved this for the end of the day and it's just kind of okay. I'll wait to pass judgment until we put this salt and pepper on there. I'm just going to go ahead and salt the shit out of it because it really does need some extra flavor. Maybe that salt and this pepper will tune it up. Maybe the bread will just add some more depth of flavor to it. I don't know, but this really is a very, very basic meal. A lot more basic than I really expected. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking it wouldn't look like a pile of dog food, which it absolutely looks like a couple of piles of dog food, which is kind of disturbing. And I certainly did not think that I was going to be sitting here thinking that the pasta bolognese was the dinner play. I really thought this was absolutely going to be the right choice for dinner. Boy, was I, well, damn it, I'm going to have goopy blue ice gum. It's goopy everywhere. There's not much I can do about it at this point. But I really thought I was going to choose the right menu for dinner. Maybe I had the best meal of the day at breakfast, the second best meal of the day at lunch. And then this kind of, I don't know, odd, strange, very bland dog food looking main for dinner. I guess, it happens. Let's get back at it with some salt and pepper and see what it's all about. Alpo. And that salt and pepper certainly tuned it up quite a bit. Actually helped to accentuate the sausage flavor. It still isn't like that amazing meal I was really looking for. It's almost like a sausage and potato stew. One thing I can say is this is certainly going to be a belly filler at 400 grams plus the meat. But it's certainly not all that in a bag of chips. It's just kind of okay. And let's get a big old bite of this stewed this stewed pork. Let's see what this is all about. That is certainly not the most attractive piece of meat on the planet. This is absolutely ground pork. But here, you guys lay your eyes on that. You bite? You bite? For your face? Maybe? No? Yes? Maybe? I wouldn't blame you if you said no. It's pretty hideous looking, but we're just going to toss it right back in the face because that's what we do. And that is not great. It's kind of, the best way I could describe that, it's like pork pudding. It's like a stewed pork pudding. That's really what it tastes like. Certainly a really hefty fat content in there. You can see that from it already congealing around the meat. I'm just going to try to shuffle this into the main simply because it's not all that. And I think it Its flavor is kind of okay, a little bit smoky, certainly tastes like pork, but it's just not great. And the texture is really mushy, almost like a fake burger patty mushy. If you ever had one of those really, really super cheap like gas station burger patties, that's what that's like. Very mushy. I mean, I guess you could say it's tender, and if by tender you mean like meat pudding, that's absolutely what that's like. We're going to try it with the sausage and potatoes just to see if we can bring a little life back to it. I'm not really sure. I'm certainly bummed about this combination of main items I chose for dinner. I guess maybe if I would have had it for lunch, maybe I would have been harsher on the pasta bolognese, thinking it was going to be dog food. This certainly looks, I don't know, some of the dog food I feed my dog looks better than this. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and try it with the stewed pork in the face. And that's just kind of okay. If you wind up getting, oh, look, there's some pork that actually has some texture. Let's give that a bite. Let's get this mushy stuff out of the way, see if we can get a piece of this that actually has a meat texture and isn't just like a big meat booger. That piece actually has some texture. Let's try that. Now that piece that had all the texture in it was great. The rest of it, like this kind of weird like pork meat booger, isn't all that great. If you can find a piece that actually has some meat texture, it has a great pork flavor, slow cooked, very fatty and satisfying. The meat booger portion of it though is not all that great. Yeah, it's much better to hide the pork meat booger in with the main, especially all this like really like pudding like stuff. Just mix it up in there, get it almost kind of gone. It does add a little bit of savory pork flavor. For being a main, that sausage is one of its main components. It doesn't have as much pork flavor as you would think, or even as much sausage flavor as you would expect it to. It's very hot, it's very warm, it's savory. Maybe this is somebody's comfort food. Certainly not great, certainly not living up to the hype that I gave it in my own head when I saw that big ass can roll out of that ration bag. But that is certainly the way that the ration cookie crumbles, y'all. Well, we're gonna have to try that main with some of the bread to see if the main helps to eat up the sour, bitter flavor of this rye bread. That would be nice. This would give it some texture, actually. This has way more texture than the meat even has. Let's try this tea now that it's had some time to steep. See if we got some meat juice in it. I really think that we did. Oh, there it is on the inside of the glass. Totally cool. Let's see if this tea did anything after having a good amount of time to steep. That tea barely tastes like tea. Has no lemon flavor to it whatsoever. Where they got the idea that there was any lemon included in that tea bag, fuck if I know. That pretty much tastes like warm brown water. Doesn't even taste like tea. I feel bad for the soldier that gets stuck with that tea bag. I guess it is what it is. It's still not really cool. I still think this ration definitely needed more drink options. Let's go for a big old slice of this crazy bitter bread. Let's just get some meat boogers. And I guess we're going to need some assistance with this. It's just not cooperating. But let's get some potatoes, some sausage, and some hunks of meat boogers on there. And let's just go right at that bread. Now that is absolutely amazing. When you combine the soft, warm, mushy texture of all of the stewed pork as well as this main together with the bread, the chewiness of the bread, the bitterness is absolutely absorbed. You're just left with that nice rye grain flavor. But the taste and I think the fat content of this meal really helps to reduce the bitterness of the bread and make it much more palatable. And quite frankly, the taste of the main with the bread is making the bread 100% edible, making it chewy, really making it worth eating. That's a win-win. We're just going to go ahead and toss some hunks of the bread in there so I can stop spilling it down my shirt, because yes, that's an absolute thing. We're just going to put a whole bunch of little bread bits in there. Just make it a whole lot more fun to eat considering they taste good together, and it gives it some texture, because this main absolutely needs some texture. Very warm, very mushy, kind of like a stew. I love to have some nice hunks of bread with my stew, so there it is. And I have no fear that this bread is going to absorb any of the moisture out of this main. It's almost like it's waterproof, so I should be just fine. Let's get back in here, get a big old face full of that. And just for giggles, while we're finishing off the main, let's take this whole slice of bread and we're just going to soak it right in that stewed meat booger fat and see exactly how absorbent that bread is or is not. We'll be back to you in a minute. Nutritionally speaking, this is a great ration in the sense that this is a very fatty meal. A good bit of protein in here with all the pork, some carbs, A very filling meal, lots of fat, which is going to satisfy and keep a soldier from being hungry much longer than a meal that's just straight full of carbohydrates. And this whole grain bread certainly has a long chain carbohydrate, certainly going to take a whole lot longer to break down when you eat it, more so than just a white bread or a cracker. So this meal is going to fill you up if you can eat it all. This is really just kind of plain and boring. I'm really glad that I heated it up. I think this would have been absolutely worthless if it was cold, greasy, and nasty. It just would have been completely inedible cold, so you've just got to heat this stuff up. That's absolutely great. I can't leave this table without making a mess out of myself. It's all down my shirt. It's in my beard. I think I'm just going to get in the shower after this. It's pretty much the only way that I'm not going to smell this, like, on myself or just, like, wafting up in my face. So, yeah, I think a shower would be in order after this. And I'm going to have to wash the table down again. Damn it. If it wasn't for this British face bucket, I'd probably be wearing most of it. Well, we're coming down to the end of it, and I'm absolutely full. A high-fat meal will absolutely satiate your hunger. And we're getting the last bite of this really mushy mane onto the spoon so you guys can stick your peepers on that one last time. So there it is. That's the oh, fuck. That, God damn it. That is the last bite of the sausage, potatoes, the pork meat booger with the bread hunks in it. And I absolutely need a shower after this one. My shirt is like a dinner roadmap at this point. Let's check on our hunk o' bread, see if that, you know, it's really hard to tell if that actually soaked up any of it. It doesn't really seem like it has the same, like, break apart characteristics as it did when it went in there. It's been in there for like 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. Really does not seem to have picked up any of that fat, just what stuck to the surface. I guess since we took the time to throw it in there, we should eat a hunk of it just for shits and giggles. And I gotta be 100% honest with you. That was better than the meat that came out of the can. And maybe that's the play. Maybe you just throw the meat booger away, slide your bread slices in the can to get, like, soaked in this excellent pork fat that's left over in the can. Yeah, that's totally the play. It took the bitter flavor of the bread away, gave it a really nice silky pork flavor. That's absolutely pretty damn good. I'm actually pretty full at this point, but if you were a really hungry soldier, that's absolutely the way to do it. Get all that fat, as much of it as possible, out of that can. Stick your bread hunks in there. It makes the bread taste better, and you're getting all of that really important nutrients that you need to keep on soldiering on. But this is my last bite of that stuff. And this is you guys let me down right at the finish line, spoon drop. Damn shit. Anyway, let's check out some of these chocolate-coated peanuts. These ought to be good. It's kind of hard to screw up chocolate-coated peanuts. At least I hope it is. Let's bring these salty chocolate balls up to your face and check those out. So let's give these chocolate-covered peanuts a try. And those chocolate-covered peanuts are absolutely fucking stale. One thing I can say, though, the packaging sucked, so that's probably why they're stale, but the chocolate that surrounds these peanuts actually tastes more like fudge. And if you've ever had a fudge-topped shortbread cookie, like from the bakery or something, if you know what that is, then you know exactly what that little chocolate ball of deliciousness tastes like. Being a year out of date and that really flimsy wrapper that they came in, these are hard as all get out. Like, be careful with your teeth if you get these things. They do have a great taste. I'm not going to bother finishing the rest of them on camera because this would be a 3-hour-long video that I'd have to edit all that nonsense out. I'm going to eat these over the course of the next couple hours, though. They taste like fudge, which is absolutely pretty damn yummy. You can't really taste the nuts in them anymore, which kind of weirds me out. Maybe it's just more like a fudge ball. Peanuts were an afterthought. If you got these when they were nice and fresh, I imagine they would be amazing. But that packaging absolutely screws the pooch. It's not going to be long after this ration takes some heat stress that these things are going to be really stale. That's definitely a bummer. I would have loved to have gotten these when they were fresh. And fuck that tea because it doesn't taste like anything, so we're just going to dive right into the Cole Fresh Blue Ice Gum. I've had some Cole Fresh in other rations before. It was pretty damn good from what I can remember. Ooh, I don't know though. It's the same color as some of those gums that were more like menthol than mint. I guess we're about to find out. Maybe I'm having short-term memory loss and I'm about to stick some straight up menthol candy in my face, but here's hoping. Yep, that is just like a Hall's mentholated throat lozenger. That's actually pretty nasty. That's not the gum for me. Your mileage may vary. You may like having like a mentholated mouth on fire after dinner. Me, not so much. So that's a real bummer. This meal turned out to not be so great, and I was really expecting it to be the best meal of the day, and I kind of got the thumbs down on that. It's all right, though. Not every ration is going to be a complete winner. This was still, however, a shit ton of fun. So thank you guys for joining me here on Ration Nerd, where we got into this expired 24-hour Estonian combat ration. This was absolutely awesome. It was a lot of fun. The ration, not so awesome. Breakfast was great. Lunch was bitchin'. Dinner kind of dropped the ball, and the lack of drinks and other accessories in this ration really kind of like puts me right on the fence about it. Aside from the fact that it was a hell of a lot of fun for me to get into, dinner was absolutely disappointing. The lack of accessories was pretty disappointing. Overall, coming in at over 3,500 calories, that's a hell of a lot of calories for the day, and the one thing I can say is that they didn't skimp on the fat, at least for the last meal of the day. Fat is always an excellent thing. In a ration, it'll keep a soldier full, which is really important. You don't want hungry, angry soldiers everywhere. That's a bad idea. Give a bunch of hangry people guns and see what happens. Not the best idea on the planet. Maybe I can get a different menu of the Estonian Armed Forces ration in the future. That's even if they're still making a 24-hour ration. I did do an Estonian single meal where they've switched over to a more British style ration. Maybe they're doing a 24-hour. I don't know at this point, but this was the one I could get my hands on, so that's what we were going with, and it was a shit ton of fun. And if you want to get your hands on it and have a shit ton of fun, you know what you could do for this guy? You could absolutely hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you're really cool and you want to be one of the cool kids, talk to me in the chat. It is always a great time to hear from you. And this is that magic time of the review where I say, if you can find something cooler than this Estonian Self-Defense Forces 24-hour combat ration to put in your face hole, you absolutely know what to do. Eat 'em up.
Man, I know you didn't just soak that nasty ass bread in that fatty shit and then expect that I'm gonna be like okay with coming on that here. You know, it's my stomach too, motherfucker. You can't just be feeding me like this and feeding me some wonky ass shit, expecting me to be satisfied with that. That ain't even right. I need some like human rights people to come up in here and get into like Ration Nerds alternate personality land. I need some like human rights violations. I need to like report a human rights violation. This motherfucker be forcing me to eat some weird shit. And then you're gonna eat some stale ass chocolate covered peanuts. Like that's the cool thing to do. I mean, they actually did taste kind of good though. I ain't gonna lie. But man, it's like why we always gotta eat expired shit? Why can't we have some nice fresh shit? Why can't you get some normal shit to eat, man? Like really, seriously. And like, what happened to the booze? Like they ain't no booze in this ration. I told you I needed a drink. Goddamn, being in here is stressful. You don't understand. This motherfucker be working me to death. Literally working me to death. Like I don't even know what to do anymore with this guy. I don't even know how you guys just hang out with this motherfucker and be like watching his goofy ass videos, man. I think if you guys would stop watching the videos, then I could like go take a nap or something, because every time he be doing these videos, he be dragging me out because I'm under contract. I should have never signed that shit. Like when you sign something, you gotta be careful when you sign that shit. Like then all of a sudden, if you don't want to do it no more, then like the lawyers get involved, and that shit ain't no fun, man. And it's just not even cool. But I don't even know what to say anymore, y'all. Man, it's bullshit.